Okay. Good morning, class. So, as I've said a while ago in the chat box, this is the last meeting for the lecture. Okay, but we will still have meetings for your final exam and for your reporting. So, for your reporting, we can discuss that one later. Let's go first to your exam. So the schedule of your exam is on October 17. So if I look at my calendar, October 17 is on Saturday. So you have 10, 14, and 17. We have 3 meetings. Now those 3 meetings would be allocated for your plate, that is for your reporting and for your exam. Okay? So, your exam, you'll have it on Wednesday, that is 14. So, timed exam yun class kasi wala namang problem solving. Okay? It's just the concept of your sewerage and drainage. And then, on 17, that will be your reporting. Okay? So you have a lot of time to do your plate and you have 6 people to do those plates. So I'll discuss that one later. Anyways, let's go first to the lecture. So mark your calendars. Exam is on 14. Exam is on 14. Reporting is on 17. So let's go to this one. This is the last topic for your sewerage and drainage. Okay, that is now your sewage disposal. So sometimes maayos naman yung tubig, okay, or there is no facility yet to treat your water. So you can now dispose of it properly provided that the circumstances are all right. So provided na the conditions of the site where you will now dump your sewage is okay, then you can now dispose of them. So sewage disposal, okay, can be disposed of without a treatment or after suitable treatment. Sewage is disposed of either in natural water courses or on land. So it's not all the time that you will dispose of your sewage through your water courses or through a body of water. You can do it through the disposal of your wastewater in land surfaces, especially when you now talk about filtering systems or your urban drainage. So it can now be classified as under your natural methods by dilution, by land treatment, and by artificial methods, which is your primary treatment and secondary treatment. Ito na yung you will make use of your sewage treatment plant. Okay, so what we have not discussed is by the natural method. So, by dilution, the disposal of sewage by discharging it into water courses such as stream, rivers, or large body of water, such as lake, sea, is called dilution. So you will now dilute such that the concentration of your sewage will be lessened. So it's out in the open. Pagka out in the open, then you let your microbes, okay, do their aerobic decomposition of the sewage. So this method of disposal is only possible when the natural water in required quantity is available near the town. So pagka wala kang nearby na stream or river or any available na pwede mong pagdampan ng tubig, okay? Hindi naman pwedeng from Baguio City you will dispose of it into Pangasinan or La Union. It's too far away. So it should be near. When discharging sewage in this way, care should be taken that the sewage may not pollute the natural water and render it unfit for any other purposes such as bathing, drinking, fish culture, rough industrial, and irrigation. So, when you now tap that course of water or water course or lake, river, stream, okay, there should be a public advisory that that stream should not be used for recreational purposes such as bathing, okay, or picnic area. Hindi pwede. Okay, it's not potable, it's not a drinkable water. Okay, it's not good for fish culture or when you stock or get a or establish a fish pond, and then it cannot be used for any industrial or irrigation purposes. Okay? It's unsanitary, unhygienic, and the possibility of contamination, okay, ng mga fecal matters mo, mga viruses and microbes is very, very high. Okay. The method of sewage disposal by dilution is most suited under the following circumstances. So you only do dilution when the city is situated near the sea, river, or lake. Okay, so we talked about that one a while ago. And then letter B, when the sewage reaching the point of disposal is fresh or non-septic. So there's stages kung saan nagde-decompose yung wastewater. So you can only make use of dilution when it hasn't reached the putrefaction stage, meaning the sewage is now fresh or not septic. Okay, when at the point of disposal, the depth of water is sufficient and current can prevent the deposition near the outfall. Okay, so sometimes your river geomorphology, it doesn't take away the sewage. Instead, it deposits, kaya deposition, okay? The sewage now stays on the outfall. But that's not the purpose why we want to dispose of the sewage. We want the sewage to go away. So you have to make sure that the area or the site where you will now dispose of your sewage will take away yung sewage. Okay, and then D, when the volume of receiving water is large enough to take the load of sewage safely without causing its pollution. So, kaya naman class, when we dispose of, for example, runoff in a body of water, the rivers can actually accommodate those. But in large volumes, it cannot. So, dapat may permissible lang na amount, okay, that can now be disposed of to a body of water. So, hindi pwede maramihan or else you are now depleting the dissolved oxygen in the river resulting into degradation. And then E, when during flood, the receiving water will not cause backward flow in sewers. So, paano kapag puno yung river system mo and then it overflows? Of course, there will now be an intrusion from your river system going back to your pipes. So, instead that you are disposing of your sewage or your foul water, bumalik. And then at the side of sewage disposal and water, okay, it's still the same a continuation of the discussion. The putrefying matter should not be deposited at the bottom and start giving offensive odors. Kaya dapat your sewage is fresh, okay? It cannot be on the stage of putrefaction or else your dilution won't be effective anymore. So, and then unsightly matter should not float on the surface. That's why we introduce your screens or the screens in the inlets of a curb or a road, okay? And then sewage should not cause destruction of aquatic life and contamination of shellfish. Okay, so you know all of this one because all matters, kahit plant pa yan or animals, aquatic animals, they all have the possibility to bioaccumulate all of the toxins, all of the foul matters from your sewage. Okay? And then the next one is for your land treatment. Now this one makes use of your granular materials, which is soil. When the sewage is evenly spread on the surface of land, the method is called land treatment. The water of sewage percolates into the ground and suspended solids remain at the surface of the ground. So it's like a filter. So if you know a coffee filter, pag gumagawa kayo ng coffee, right? So you have to pass whatever you have brewed into a coffee filter such that the coffee beans will now be filtered out and only the extract of the coffee will be left for you to consume. So it's the same. We do not want the solid materials to permeate through the soil strata. We only want the liquid part. The organic suspended solids are partly acted upon the bacteria and are partly oxidized by the exposure to atmospheric actions of heat, light, and air. So, pagka na-expose daw siya sa atmosphere, okay, it will now cause an oxidation. So, what does oxidation do? It will now decompose your solid materials. Okay, so land treatment can be further classified as filtration and sewage farming or broad irrigation. So, filtration. Um, so, filtration of sewage by straining action of the ground soil and oxidation and biochemical action of organic matters. The complex compounds of sewage can be converted into harmless mineral salts, which serves as valuable fertilizer. So, your soil materials, granular materials, can now serve as a material to absorb all the foul materials. So, for example, mga potassium, ganyan. Okay? Ano pa? Ammonia. Okay? Those will now serve as fertilizers. Ano bang component ng fertilizers? Isn't it that it's potassium and ammonia? So, if your sewage, okay, really contains those things, so the soil will now filter out that one, okay? Matitira yan sa soil and it will now act as a fertilizer. So that is now filtration. Okay, so broad irrigation. In this type of sewage disposal, the land on which sewage is applied acts roughly like a filter. Due to more percentage of voids in soil, the sewage is stabilized by aerobic action. In this method, under drainage system is laid below the ground to collect the effluent of sewage after filtration to the ground soil. Now, your broad irrigation just makes use of several layers of soil para ang matitira na lang when you now have a underground pipe which collects the leachate, okay, or the extract, the liquid extract from the sewage, okay. It is laid below the ground and it will now collect. You have soil layers and then finer should be at the top and then okay, yung mga mas malalaki will be at the bottom such that it will not infiltrate or it will not clog yung pipe openings at the bottom. So the under drainage system is usually consisting of 15 centimeters to 20 centimeters of porous pipes, okay, which are laid open, jointed at a spacing of 10 to 30 centimeters. The effluent, which is unfoul in character and usually small in quantity, can be directly disposed of into natural water courses. So your soil has a filtering effect, okay? And then, if you remember the topic on pagka bumalik kayo sa hydraulics or in your soil mechanics, you have your capillarity and wait, I'm remembering. Capillarity and I forgot the right term. It's hydraulic conductivity. So the movement of your water through your soil is very, very slow. So pagka dumaan yan sa, for example, from Baguio City, and it will now permeate through the groundwater, okay, and will be released to a nearby body of a river or a stream, it will take centuries or years, okay, para ma-reach niya yung river. So by that time, that water is already clean. So the concept is the same this way. We make use of soil as a filter, as an absorbent material para ma-absorb yung mga matters, mga fecal matters and everything. So the amount of liquid produced usually is quite small. So it's not a problem whether you install a 15 or a 20 centimeter diameter pipe. Okay? Ang problema dito, class, is when you have a lot of sewage, you need a large or a very wide area, okay, to lay out your sewage. So sewage farming, when the sewage is used for growing crops, it is called sewage farming. The fertilizing elements of sewage are consumed by the roots of crops. So here you can see the positive effects of bioaccumulation. The mineral salts of sewage, such as nitrates, sulfates, and phosphates, are the main fertilizing constituents of sewage. Okay, by sewage farming, a good income can be done, which is always profitable. So it's not all the time that sewage is bad. Sometimes sewage can be beneficial if it is used in the right way. Okay, sewage sickness. When sewage is continuously applied on the land, the pores of the soil continuously go on decreasing, and the stage comes when the soil gets clogged by the deposition of solids of sewage. So what happens is that, wait, let me get my drawing board. Give me a minute to install. Okay, so from your geotechnical engineering, you know that water moves. Ayan, I hope you can see the red drawing here. That's the soil. So, ang ginagawa ng soil, it will now filter out the fecal materials, right? You know that water, the one in blue, will now move through the voids. It's not moving in between the soil solids, right? It doesn't move that way. Your water will move around your soil particles or in the voids. Therefore, the adsorbing or the process here is adsorption, wherein naka-attach lang sa surface ng solid or ng soil particles, okay, the fecal matters. Ayan. So, if you are continuously using your soil as a filter or as an adsorbent, okay, then it will now create a clog. Pagka nagka-clog, there is no more drainage. Your water cannot permeate anymore through your soil strata. After reaching this stage, the air cannot circulate through the soil pores, therefore aerobic conditions cannot continue, resulting in starting of anaerobic conditions. So pagka anaerobic conditions, remember, your septic tank is an aerobic condition. So magkakaroon na ng septic conditions. When anaerobic decomposition starts, the hydrogen sulfide gas is produced, creating nuisance in the area. So it creates a foul odor. In this condition, the sewage treating capacity of the land is exhausted. So you cannot make use of the land anymore until you put in a new layer or you let the land rest. The treating capacity of the land is exhausted and cannot accept any more load of sewage. When such stage is reached, the land is said to be sick. Kaya when you're a farmer, right, you have to rest the land where you will now plant your vegetables because all the pesticides, all of the materials that you are now pouring into your plant clogs your agricultural soils or your lands. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. This is the last lecture. So thank you all for coming, for all those students who have attended my lecture. Thank you all for attending them. So I'd like to ask you to please enable your video so that I can take a class picture. Okay, saglit lang naman class. Let me disable my share. Okay, so that I can see you all. Okay, let's wait for the others. Ayan. Okay, what about the others, please? Okay. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, thank you. So let's now go to your reporting. So you have to pick six group members. And by the way, you have to report, okay, at a specified time. So dapat lahat kayo online on that time and then you will have to report. Okay? So I'll show you your final presentation. Let me find it first. Okay, I think it's this one. So, okay. So, here's your final requirement. So, here's a checklist to make the reporting easier. You have to pick a site. It can be outside of Baguio City. And then, you have to determine the population. This can be provided by a census in the internet. Madali lang mag-search class. And then, prepare a site management plan or a desktop study. I'm not asking you to go out or anything. Okay? You perform a desktop study wherein you make use of your internet connection to look for pertinent information. And then, the sign of your STP unit processes. You can just go or you can just follow what we have done last meeting. And I'll upload a book called Wastewater Treatment Technologies by Chobanoglus. I'll upload it right away, right now, mga 11:30. I'll give you an hour to download that book because it's not actually a legal copy. Okay? So, make sure that you download it fast because I'll take it down after an hour. So, you have to design the STP unit processes. And then afterwards, okay, so to make, what are the pertinent materials that I need to see in your desktop study? So, Identify current and historical facility structures, your buildings. Okay? Makikita nyo yan, class, pag pumunta kayo sa Google Earth or just Google Maps. Okay? Makikita yan. And then your drain systems, if you can find, and then your sewer systems, if you can, and your underground utilities. And then identify process areas, including historical processing areas. Okay, so pagka meron kayong drainage or sewer systems, then you can have the second item here. But if you cannot get, it's also okay. And then identify current, pero pagka meron, of course, plus points. And then identify current and historical waste management areas and activities and others. Okay? So pagka may data kayo on how that area will now dispose their waste, especially their foul water, then you can also include that one. Okay, and then for the land use, again, you can make use of your Google Maps here or Google Earth. Identify the specific land use on the facility and adjacent properties. Identify the beneficial resources, your groundwater classification, wetlands, and natural resources. So, you cannot place your STP near a potable water source. There is a big possibility that it will now contaminate that source. So, and then, identify, okay na yan. Beneficial resources. Okay, ito. Identify resource use location. So, water supply wells. So, I think I've showed you this one last time. You can go to the National Water Resources Board here. For example, my site is in Green Valley. Ayan. What are the water sources? For example, you have a surface water. Just a broad description kung anong meron sa area na yon. Okay? You can go to the site. It's called National Water Resources Board for the location of your wells, and location of water surfaces. Okay. And then identify subpopulation types and locations. So important structures such as your schools, hospitals, okay? So pagka nagde-design kasi kayo ng STP class, you cannot place it near a school or a hospital, okay, for sanitary, hygienic, and other purposes. And then the physical features. So this time, it will now have something to do with your pipe connections and the economics of your STP. So identify topographical features. So parang Benguet ba yan or parang Baguio ba yan, that it is a rugged terrain or a rolling terrain. Okay? So anong surface vegetation? Built up areas ba lahat? Wala bang for farming or for agricultural purposes? And then identify surface water features, routes of drainage, ditches, links to water bodies. If you can get, if you cannot, it's okay. Okay? Kasi hindi ko naman pwedeng sabing lumabas kayo. Okay? It's not, if you cannot get an access to this data, then it's okay. So, and then identify surface geology. You just describe the soil kung saan nyo itatayo yung STP. Okay? So, there's different kinds of soils which now suit your STP. And then identify hydrogeology, water-bearing zones, hydrological parameters, and then your impermeable strata, direction of your groundwater flow. Okay, never mind this one, your identification of hydrogeology. Okay, and then you can now go back to the presentation last meeting, that is now the design of your unit processes. What I need is the dimensions of your primary clarifying tank, okay? Or the mga tables na ginamit nyo, it's all in the book, okay? So, do you have any questions regarding your group work? Please submit the members on the group chat. You just list, for example, you are the first one to comment, then you say group 1, here's the members. There should be 6. Hindi pwedeng 5. There should be 6 because you're 48. Okay? It's divisible by 6, no remainder. Dapat 6 kayo. Wait, we have... No, just 6. A member of 8 is too much. You have... I'll give you Saturday off so you can do your activity. And then the exam on 14 will just give you, I'll just give you a 30 minutes to do your exam. Kasi hindi naman siya problem solving, it's more on identification and analytic thinking. Okay? So only 6. We don't have a lecture on Saturday, but your exam is on 14 and the reporting will be on 17. I'll post who would be the first group to present on the 17th. Okay? Any more questions? Any more? Wala na? Okay, so that's it. Thank you all for coming to the last lecture. I'll see you on the reporting day.